Hi. So before we get into the EbSynth AI tool, I thought it'd be useful to first show you how to export an image sequence and set up your assets before we get into the techniques involved with using, AI rotoscoping tools. So just to start off, go into Photoshop and then go to Create New and create a canvas with a 1920 by 1080 canvas size. I'm assuming that's because your footage is going to be in that canvas size. If it's not, you can always change it, but this is for just a video you have. If you don't have a video, the resource folder will have videos in it, but I'll just call this video for EbSynth 1, create. I'm going to go to view, get rid of those extras, double click this, okay. And I'm just going to bring over a video. Drop it in. Go OK. Create a video timeline. Change the timeline frame rate to 24 since that's what the video is. And then I'm going to drag it to a part where, okay, look, that's somebody walking, that's me walking, and then I'm just gonna stop it only a little bit further down, let's say even less than 68 frames. Let's just give it 36 frames will do. 35. Okay, zoom into the timeline, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick a random spot somewhere in the middle, like let's just say there. Open up a new layer and then make sure that that layer lasts. I only need it for 1 second, 1 frame I mean. And on this frame, I'm just going to, for the sake of this, draw on top just something. It doesn't really matter what, it's only for demonstration. And I'm just gonna go and just trace myself with my mouse, so it's not going to be very accurate, but whatever, I'll clean this up later. I'm going to fill it. There's an action for this. One of the videos demonstrates how to create that. Otherwise, you can just fill it by coloring it in or using a bucket tool and then coloring the edge, however you want to do it. I'm just going to jump in and clean this up. Reduce the opacity. Let's reduce the opacity of this actually. Increase the opacity of that, just so I can see where it's really off. And erase the part that is off. So that's a quick job we'll do. Okay. That will do. $125. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of it for now so I can't see it. And then I'll go, let's create another layer. And for this one, I'm just gonna go white, do a little brush size, and I'm just going to draw some lines. Not too small. Okay, let's see how that looks if we turn this on now. 100% opacity. Not amazing, but it's only a demonstration. Okay. Whatever. That will do. Okay, so that's the style frame. I'm going to now just save this, go save as, and I'm going to save this as a PNG class for whatever, EbSynth. And I'll just call this style frame, create, save, okay. And then I'm going to export. Now, keep in mind that's frame 10. So later in the video, you're going to see why that's important. But if I'm going to make a point of it now, probably smart to jump into there. Go class for EbSynth tutorial, style frame, just so I remember. There it is. Later, I'm going to change that file name, but you'll see later in the tutorial how that works. But the other thing I'm going to do is, here is the sequence. I'm going to go File, Export, Render Video, but I'm going to render it as a Photoshop image sequence. 0 to 35. My work area. I'm going to select where I was just before. Go here, Command up so I can get out, and I'll call this video, create, choose, render. Okay. Okay, and if I go back to Finder, and I go to video, I'm going to change this name, Command C. I'm going to take that name and give it to this file. And that's it. This process that I just created, when we go, I'm going to jump into the tutorial for EbSynth, and that will clarify what we just did and why we did it. But pretty much I'm setting up the assets for using this tool that we're going to explore in a second. So good luck, and I'll see you there. Thanks. Hello, welcome to the tutorial that's going to look at this program here, EbSynth. And what EbSynth is it uses AI technology for style transferring and combines it with a rotoscope context. And what that means is you take a source image. So this is classic style transfer stuff. You take a picture of a canal, or you find a picture of a canal with some buildings on the side, and then you take a style frame, so a painting, for example, that has its own style, like here, and you try and mix the two together and see what comes together. So you transfer the style onto the source image. So here's 3 examples of 3 different paintings, all of which using this source image as their source, and these 3 paintings as the style, and then the mixture of the 2 are present here, B, C, and D. Now, that is just for a single image, and you'll notice that they're not really matching up. Like, this image compositionally looks nothing like the style frames, but they're just finding the feel and look of the style and combining it. However, EbSynth is a bit more video focused and tries to kind of incorporate aspects of rotoscoping into the style transfer world. And so what they try and do is you take a style frame that tries to match up your source. So you draw on top of your frame, for example, and then it mixes the two to create videos. And these are some of the examples they have, where they just take a single image, one of the frames of the video, they draw on top of it, and then the AI machine spreads and populates that across the entire video. Okay? So this can be interesting and done well, but I sometimes think it can be interesting that you don't have to do it with like a painterly style. You can do it really in any way, as long as you have a source video and then one frame that you can just give a different look to that compositionally looks the same as the source video, and then that will be the new look. And an example for that I've been working with recently, I thought I'd demonstrate is, I've got this video here that I made in Cinema 4D. And it's just some motion capture people kind of doing different actions in a reflective space with low light. And I'll just quickly play that through. So this is the project file from the behind the scenes look. And it doesn't look like much, but I'll show you what the final video kind of looks like when you render this out. Let's jump to After Effects. So it looks something like this. Okay, now that still needs to be edited and worked into a larger concept, but that's what I've got so far. Now, what I want to do is, I was rendering, and while I was rendering, before it was finished rendering, the look of the different shots was quite interesting. And so I decided, what if I could give that look of the half-rendered image across the entire video? And so, to demonstrate what that might look like, I'll go to Cinema 4D, and I'll just demonstrate the process. Now, at this point, I just want to flag, before we continue, be sure to download EbSynth. And you've got, After Effects and Photoshop, Cinema 4D installed, or you can apply this in any way you want. But what you need to do is set up a scene with anything, with characters, no characters, objects, whatever you want. And for this, I would turn on, if you can, global illumination here, but you don't have to do this. Like, this is just one demonstration. I'll just show you. You may not have global illumination if you're using Cinema 4D Lite. It's possible. It won't be an option here because I've already got it turned on, but if I hadn't had it turned on, I could find it in my effects. But it doesn't really matter. You can draw on top, you can do any technique you want. This is just one demonstration. And what I do is I'll go to the frame of the person jumping, and in mid-jump, let's say right here, I just start rendering it here. I'm going to give it a bit of time to render. Okay, so that looks pretty cool, and that's kind of an interesting style. Imagine if that was across the entire video. Well, I'm going to take a screenshot now of pretty much the whole. And I have to do a screenshot because I can't render out this like mid-render preview. There we are. And I'm just going to stop it from rendering now because I don't need it anymore. And so here it is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Photoshop. And I've already got a canvas here that is 1920 by 1080. The reason it's 1920 by 1080 is because my original video that I rendered out was 1920 by 1080. And you have to make sure that the aspect ratio and the resolution is exactly the same between your style frame and the video, your source video. It has to be exactly the same. So 1920 by 1080 is what I've got. And I'm just going to jump to my desktop where it would have saved. There it is. I'm just going to drag that in. And I'm going to line it up. And I know that it's probably a little bit taller. There we go. That's fine. I'm going to use my up and down arrow keys to just put it in the middle roughly. And I'm going to say, okay, looks good. Now I'm just going to drop in that original video frame. How I can find that is I go back to Cinema 4D and I go, okay, frame 244. So I'll jump over here, go 244. Over here, that's where my render is. 244. That's it. So I'm just going to make sure that it lines up properly and I'll just drag it in. Fits perfectly because it's 1920 by 1080. And what I'll do is I'll just reduce the opacity and see how well it matches up. Okay, so as you can see, it's pretty perfect. Nothing needs really to change. So I'll just make that invisible and save this as a JPEG. That's also important because the format needs to be the same as well. or should be the same actually. Go to EbSynth, that's where I'm gonna save it. Create a new folder, call it jumper, create, and then I'm gonna go jumper style frame, create, and I'm just gonna save it there. Maximum quality, okay. Now I'm gonna jump back to my folder, go into jumper, and I'm gonna create 2 more folders. One called jumper output and jumper video. So here's the jumper style frame. Now here's the second really important thing. The style frame needs to be the exact same title and file name as the frame that it is basing it off. So I'm going to go to my image sequence, go to 244, that's it there. Copy the file name, jump to my style frame, paste it. That should be exactly the same. Now I'm going to jump back to this, find the beginning of the shot, which is just here. Half darkness, so 238 to, it's very short. Here we are. To 248. So just 10 frames. Command C, and I'm going to put that into jumper video. Okay, that's all I need to do in terms of prepping the Finder. Now I'm going to open up EbSynth. Now I've already got a previous render I was doing with it, so it's already got things filled in, but if you're just opening it for the first time, there shouldn't already be, these slots shouldn't be filled. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to the style frame, and I'm just going to drag that into keyframes. Then video, just going to drag that folder, the whole folder. And then in output, I'm going to drag the output folder. Now, these numbers refer to the start of the video. So the start video number is 238. So I'm going to put here 238, and the end of the video is 248. And then the keyframe is 244. And that is everything. So the keyframe is the style frame, the video is the source video. This is the first frame in your video, this is the last frame in your video, this is the keyframe in your video. Then, if you want to add more, you can add more here if you have multiple keyframes that you want to include. Anyway, I don't want to change anything. I'm happy with how it is, so I'm just going to click Run All. And then it's going to just render it out and interpret the the task I just gave it. And it's going to populate those images into my output here. It'll take a little while to load, so I'll just pause and come back. Okay, welcome back. Now that the render is finished, you can see the output here. And as you can see, this is me jumping through the frames. It's pretty, abstract. That's because we chose a pretty abstracted style frame. And I kind of like how it looks. You got this kind of gooey kind of look to it. And what I would say is, if you want something that's a bit more like you want to create a mask around what you want rotoscoped, what you want this style transfer to affect, and you don't want the whole background, you just wanted that character, then what you need to do is you need to object buffer just the character and add that image sequence to the mask one right here. So you see how there's a mask group, you just drop it in there and then it'll create a mask and only apply the style transfer within that mask. How to do object buffering, I will actually just link a tutorial on how to do object buffering in Cinema 4D. And if you want to if you want to do that, because it's just a whole nother tutorial and it takes about 10 minutes to learn. And I just think someone's already covered that content. Have a look at that. And then once you've done the object buffering, you have it all in a folder, just drop it in here and it won't touch the background. It'll just focus on that character. And that's everything. If you need to import an image sequence into After Effects, you just go to After Effects, Command I, pick the image sequence. So I'll just quickly jump to, say this one. Oh no. The output. Click the first one, PNG sequence. I like to click force alphabetical order, but it's not necessarily. Open, and there it is. Right click it and go to interpret footage main. And they always assume that the frame rate is 30 frames a second. It's not for this, it's 24. So I'll just change that, click OK. And then you can just go new comp from selection. And here it is. Done. Thanks for watching. Bye.